ready to head off the trails? I'm the Cryptid Huntress, Jessica Jones, and I'm ready to take you on a mysterious journey right now. We welcome you to Off the Trails right here on the Spaced Out Radio YouTube channel. If you haven't hit subscribe yet, please do. We would really appreciate the love, and shout out to Bumblefoot for that amazing intro music. Once again, we thank you. Thank you so much. Follow us on Twitter, you guys, at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on TikTok at Spaced Out Radio. You can find me at thecryptidhuntress.com, and please subscribe to my YouTube channel, The Cryptid Huntress. Also, I have an Etsy shop. It's called War Woman Goods. You guys, please go buy some jewelry. I sell vintage Native American jewelry, and it really supports everything I do here. All right. So, and you can also book a personal private tarot and oracle card reading with me on my website, The Cryptid Huntress. Just hit that shop link, y'all. And I'm having a lot of fun doing those right now. I have a fantastic guest at SOR tonight. I have Jerimiah Fountain here with me. Do you guys ever doubt that my guests are not going to be amazing? I tell you what, I'm having so much fun here. Don't forget that right after this show, After Hours has a great program set up for you guys. So let's get to our guest. Jerimiah Fountain lives in the Adirondacks of upstate New York on the family plot of land, which is inhabited by a group of 6 to 8 Sasquatch and other entities. During his career as a professional MMA fighter, he took advantage of his travels and learned about cryptids and entities inhabiting other parts of the world. Jerimiah is a hunter, fisherman, survivalist, and a 20-year veteran cryptozoology researcher. He's also a paranormal investigator and specializes in Sasquatch and Dogman research. Jerimiah runs 2 podcasts, On the Trail in Search of Living Legends and the Skookum Session Bigfoot Roundtable. He's the founder of a research team called Paranormal and Cryptid Crossroads Research and the Facebook group On the Trail Cryptid Paranormal Research Group. You guys, please help me welcome to Space Out Radio tonight, Mr. Jerimiah Fountain. Hey, Jerimiah.
Hey, Jess. How's it going?
Hey, oh my gosh, I'm doing so great. This is going to be so much fun. I've been looking forward to talking with you again.
Same
yeah,
here.
Totally. I got to come on your show with you and Nick Valente not too long ago.
Yes, it was awesome.
It was. We talked about so much cool stuff. I think I even talked about remote viewing and all the Bigfoot stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, it was great.
Yeah, and that's pretty progressive when it comes to Bigfoot research and Dogman research. Talking about like a psychic, aspect of all that and the supernatural aspect to the phenomenon. Like I was really impressed, and I'm always impressed with Nick Valente too, by the way.
Nick is awesome. He's phenomenal. Yeah, we started working together came on the show, about 3 years ago, and we hit it right off. And we've been working together ever since. Nick's like a big brother, just phenomenal guy. Very knowledgeable. Oh, yeah.
Well, I met Nick. He came on my show here on Spaced Out Radio. Actually, he came on Texas Front Porch. I do a show there, and I met him there, I believe. And then I invited him on this show. And then after that, I think in 1 week, we did like 3 or 4 shows together.
Yeah.
Okay. So it just snowballed. And we're planning on doing a Halloween special too, everybody. Jerimiah, I hope you'll be a part of that on Halloween night if you're free. We'll talk about it later. Yeah.
Yes,
for
absolutely.
sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, you actually have actual Sasquatches living on your property where you live.
Yes.
And I would really love to hear about that. And then we'll kind of get into your history of the paranormal. Yeah.
Yes.
Tell me about it.
Yeah, we've got it's a family plot of land. It's 250 acres. Ever since, I was a little boy, there's always been very odd things going on there. I never had my first I didn't have a face-to-face encounter until the year 2000. But it was quite an eye-opener. Like I said before that, I had known there was things going on that property. I just knew it because I had been into the field, before I had my face-to-face. Not as deep as I was afterwards, of course, but in 2000 I had my first face-to-face, and it was with a juvenile. And it was quite an eye opener. That's when I really went down the rabbit hole, so to speak. After this first encounter. And the interesting thing about this piece of property, it's very special. There's a beautiful freshwater natural artesian spring in the back towards the back end of the property. I think that's one of the reasons one of the things that attracts them to this piece of land is that spring, not only for the nutrients in the water, for the water source and for the game, but I think it's special in other ways. I guess it's kind of hard to explain. I guess the average person would have a hard time understanding it. Maybe what I'm talking about. I think you're kind of catching my drift.
They like that fancy water. I like Fiji water myself. You know what I'm saying?
You're right.
I don't like that. I don't drink tap water.
No, of course not.
Water is very special, and it, it may just be special kind of water. It holds a vibration.
Yes,
so
absolutely.
It could be magical.
Absolutely. I truly believe it is. I truly believe it is. Yeah.
Too. And you can program water too, and even look at snowflakes when water freezes, like the beauty in each individual snowflake and, all that kind of stuff. I mean, I charge my water under the full moon. Okay, Jeremiah. So
sure. Yep.
Yeah.
That's awesome. My wife does that kind of stuff too, as I was telling you before. So, and that's
good for you.
Absolutely. But yeah, it's a very special piece of land. It hasn't been logged in years. I know, I told you it was one of the family plots of, logging properties, but it hasn't been logged in a long time. It's basically been used for hunting, fishing and such over there. In my research, since I had, ever since 2000, when I had my first encounter, on the land, it's been used for research, and I've gotten to know this group very, very, very well. I have other spots as well that I research pretty hard, but this is different. This is very different, and they know me as well. They aren't threatened by me. It took a while for them. There was a couple incidences where they kind of escorted me out, so to speak, after I first had that first sighting. But since then, they've gotten used to me. They know me. They don't. I'll give you an example. They don't let anyone. They don't like it when I bring other people down there. They'll deal with it, but they do not. Excuse me. I
don't blame them either, Jeremiah. I don't like bringing strangers around either. So no, I feel them.
Absolutely not. Yeah. Absolutely not. I'll give you an example. I do, when I go down there, I do carry a gun. It's not for the Sasquatch. We do have big cats down there. We do have wolves. There's bear. So I do for my own protection. It's not for the Sasquatch. And I truly believe they know that.
You don't have to explain that to me. I do the same. It's a lot of us researchers do, because it's so dangerous out in the field.
Well, it is, especially at night when we're out there. It's extremely dangerous. I brought a guy one night, a close friend of mine, and I told him beforehand, I said, whatever you do, please don't bring a weapon. I will take care of that. I will bring mine. We will be fine. We're setting up our tents, Jess, and all of a sudden he pulls excuse me. He pulls a sawed-off 12-gauge shotgun out of his bag, and I said, "What are you doing? I told you not. I told you not to bring that. I told you not to bring it." And all of a sudden, from the other side of the spring, and we're talking a good 80 to 100 feet, comes a log that's about 5 feet long. Comes flying. It was thrown, and lands right in front of his 2 feet.
Oh wow.
So a human, first of all, we were the only one. No one else goes down to that property. It's all posted up. A human didn't throw a 5-foot fresh log 100 feet across the spring and land it in front of someone's feet. If it wanted to hit him, it would have hit him. I think it was just kind of a wake up. What are you doing? Didn't Jeremiah tell you not to bring a weapon down here? Yeah,
it's like that. The next log is going to hit you in the head, buddy.
The next one's going to hit you in the head. Exactly. but yeah, like you were saying before, there's in my guesstimation from the tracks I've observed over the years, the sightings I've had, there's about 8. And from my wife's encounter, there's anywhere from 6 to 8 of them. They leave in November, and they usually come back around the end of March, beginning of April.
So they migrate, and you've noticed it. I love that.
They do. I've monitored that over the years. They
do you do it by like their tracks and their footprints and things like that, and the sign?
Yeah.
Is that how you know?
Yes. And being down there in, wintertime, there's no activity whatsoever. There never has been. It's just from, like I said, from, springtime to November, they're there. After that, there's no sign of them whatsoever at all.
Wow. Interesting. I like that. I'm glad that you live there, so
exactly. And I think it's very important to if you live amongst these things, whatever they may be, and I don't know if you want to get into that later, but either way, whatever they may be, I think it's important you get to know that group that you're living with. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You need to understand them. Exactly. Yeah. You need to understand them. You need to know them.
And they're looking out for you, and you're looking out for them, and there's a mutual respect there.
There is.
Yeah. Well, I have a question for you. You have children. Okay.
I do.
And so, and I have a child myself. I have an 8-year-old. And
yes.
How does your family, and your wife as well, how does your family, have they been acclimated to the Sasquatch on your property?
Yeah. Yes. My wife, she's always been a researcher as well. Even before we were married, she was into the spirit side of things. It's all like we talked about last time. It's all paranormal. Everything it's all paranormal. But for the sake of speaking about it, for those who don't quite get what we're saying, she was more into the spiritual side of things, and the ghost hunting, quote unquote. You know what I mean? Yeah. But so we kind of balance each other out in that aspect. Nice. So yeah, she's gotten acclimated. It really is. Yeah. And she's gotten acclimated to it, into the cryptid side. As far as my son and my daughter go, yes, they have as well. I think it was, my son loves it. He loves knowing that they're there, and they both of them they're used to it now. So yeah.
So they're used to it. Now, do you think that the Bigfoots will be protective of your kids and things like that, and your wife?
I truly do. The ones on this piece of property, yes, absolutely. I've got a good story that relates to that. I can tell you. And
tell me. Let's talk about it. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, so after my wife had her sighting, this was in July of 2016. We were actually working on our place, so we were kind of living off the grid at the time on the land. She came back and she says, "I just saw one," and I was like, "Really? Tell me about it." And she said it was massive, Jeremiah. She said this thing was bigger than you've described them ever being. And I said, "Well, let's take a ride. Show me where you saw it, and let me grab the tape measure, and you show me where you saw it." So we hopped in the 4-wheeler. We hit the logging road. We went back, and it was almost towards almost to the spring, which is about probably a mile back. And she said, "Stop." I stopped, and she said, "Right there." She pointed to a spot where there's this oak and a limb hanging over, and she said it was staring at me, turned around, walked under that limb, and she said it only cleared the limb by about 2 inches. So I measured. I had to stand on top of the 4-wheeler. She held the bottom of the tape measure to the ground. I measured up to the bottom of the limb, and the bottom of the limb measured out at 10'6".
Wow.
So this thing was 10.
That's really
10
tall.
foot. That's massive. Yeah. This thing was 10 foot 4 inches, give or take.
That's 2 of me almost. Or it's actually a little less, but it's almost 2 of me.
It's huge. It's huge. And she said the shoulders were probably 6 feet wide. And she said they just stared at each other. She didn't feel threatened. She said they communicated. You know, and
Telepathically?
yes, she has.
Oh,
She
yeah?
has. My wife has some gifts.
Okay.
And they
Nice.
communicated. You know, and that's the other thing, Jess. I never, you know, when I first started out in this field, I never bought into that stuff. But over the last, you know, the last 8 years, I used to be part of used to think they were some sort of ape or whatnot, but that's not the case. There's way more to it, in my opinion.
Well, yeah, you
Um,
know, there is like the two camps, right? There's like the
yeah,
primate in the
exactly.
woods camp, and then there's the supernatural,
That,
what I call the X factor. My team, we all call it the X factor to Bigfoot, which is like
yeah,
supernatural and cloaking and telepathy and all that kind of
yeah,
stuff. A little more advanced. Okay.
yes,
So
exactly,
so you
exactly.
started off one way and you changed your mind.
Absolutely.
Nice.
I've experienced too much on that side of the totem pole, so
Yeah,
to
me
speak,
too.
to stick with the, you know, mountain ape, mountain monkey, whatever
Yeah,
type, you
right.
know, no offense to those
Primates.
who hold
Yeah.
that belief. You know, I don't judge
Yeah.
people. Everyone's entitled to their own belief, but I know
Right.
what I've
Me too.
seen. I know what I've experienced, and that's just what I believe. I believe there's way more to it. I believe they have abilities. Um, there's just way more to it. But
Yeah.
yeah, they communicated, and she said it turned around and walked away. And she said the funky part about it was the shoulders. Like I said, the shoulders. She said the shoulders must have been 6 feet wide. And when it turned around, it went behind this tree. She should have seen one side of its shoulders as it walked away, right? But it
Mhm.
was gone like that. Poof. It
Wow.
was just gone. She didn't see any of it. It turned around, started walking, disappeared in the brush. It was gone. She didn't see that side of the shoulder that she should have seen.
That's how it
And
usually works, by the way. Just
yes,
sometimes there's a flash of light and it's gone. They're out of here.
absolutely. And I found, and I think, you know, we talked about this when you were on my show,
Yeah.
with most of these sightings and, you know, experiences people have, including myself, my wife, others I know. There's usually I would say 95% of cases, there's lights involved in the sky before, after,
Yeah.
during. You know, we had when we were living in North Carolina, we had a really good area we worked, and we had a pretty cool experience where we could hear them walking bipedally out of the bayou.
Mhm.
Um, and they were coming from, it was the foot movement was coming from about 6 different directions. And you know, for those who say you need light, you got to shine a light in their eye to get eye shine back. No, I got news.
Yeah.
they I saw these things do it at will.
Yeah.
And some of them had fluorescent blue eyes, some had red. There were 6 different sets of eyeballs walking out of the bayou. And you know, after that, after that we saw a triangular type craft in the sky, zipped away. And you know, so I've had more than one experience like that where, you know, during these experiences, there's lights before, after, or during. And like I said, 95% of the people I've interviewed, you don't even have to edge them on about it. They just mention it automatically.
Yeah, that happened to me the first time I ever went bigfooting with a team. Ever that weekend, we had lights all around
Yeah.
us. We had orbs, we had
Yes.
spacecraft, and we had Bigfoot activity. It was all, and I can't say there was a Bigfoot that got in a spacecraft. No, I've never said that,
Right.
but it was in the same environment. So
Exactly. Exactly.
what
Yeah.
does that even mean? Like, I think
What,
there
what
is a
is,
connection.
there's got to be. There's got to be. So, you know, after we saw them walk out, we sat there a while. After they went away, we had an orb we saw floated up from where the water area was,
Mhm.
followed us around that wooded area for about an hour. I've actually got a clip of it, a 3-minute clip where this thing's following us around, and my wife is communicating with it. Every time she spoke to it, it would enlarge and then get small again. Enlarge, get small again. And this was after that experience where these things walked out of the bayou and we could see their eye shine. Just amazing. Absolutely amazing. So anyway, I got off track with that for a second, but
well, I was going to ask you a question. Do you think that
go ahead.
that light had a consciousness to it?
I think so.
Yeah, I think they do a lot of times, because we'll be out in the field in the woods and we'll have balls of light, just orbs following us around, and sometimes they will turn into shapes and triangles, and they just seem to have a consciousness to them, as if they're an entity in its own.
Entity in its own. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
I couldn't agree with you more. But yeah, back to that question. I kind of got off track, but after she had that experience, we had gone to mom and dad's for dinner. They live in the same area as we do, and we were coming back and we're cruising down the side road to take the dirt road back to the plot of land. And I said, Stacy, slow down. You're going to hit that guy. I said, and I'm thinking to myself, what's someone doing out here in the middle of nowhere in the Adirondacks at midnight?
Yeah, sometimes your rational mind doesn't, you're trying to make sense of something that doesn't make sense.
Exactly.
That happens a lot. It's just normal. It's human nature.
It is. So she kind of slowed down and she said, that's no man. And I look and I take a second look, and there it is. It's leaning against a tree with a very smug, arrogant look on its face. And lo and behold, it was very canine looking. Oh. And yes, cool. And this was around the time where I've studied over the years, the Sasquatches leave and these other things come in.
Are you saying perhaps it could be a Dogman of some sort? Yeah.
Yes. Or something of that.
Pretty prevalent right now too. I have never experienced a Dogman. I've experienced Bigfoot, Sasquatch, but never a Dogman, not yet. But I know a lot of people who have. Very credible friends of mine and people on my research teams.
Right. Yeah. And I never bought into that whole thing until I experienced it for myself. So she hit the brakes hard. It ran across the road on two legs and disappeared into our side of the woods. The next day, we're going down the logging road on the four-wheeler, and there's a tree knocked over on the logging road, and I said, okay, no biggie, I'll go around it. I didn't think anything of it. It was just one. You're in the woods. Trees do fall. So about 100 meters down the trail, there's another one. Okay. So then I start to think, okay, that's kind of strange. So again, I went around it.
Okay.
Well, about another 100 meters down the road, there's another one. And then I got out and I started looking around and I started snapping pictures of the wood line. And is everything, can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay. I started snapping pictures of the wood line because, once in a while I'll do that. I think a lot of researchers do it, take pictures of the wood line to see if they can catch anything after, And I thought I noticed something. So like I said, took the picture. I sent it to a friend of mine. He said, Jeremiah, go back to the cabin and analyze that picture good. Lo and behold, buried in this pine tree, you can see the face of a very canine looking creature that was just sitting there staring at me. And I can send you the picture tomorrow if you'd like.
Oh my gosh. Oh, of course. I'd love to see that. That's awesome.
It kind of freaked me out, Jess. Because it was just staring. You could tell it was just staring at us. And that night, we heard quite the ruckus outside. And like I told you before, I believe these Sasquatches would protect us in a situation.
So in your house?
Yeah, we were, like I said, we were staying in the camper at the time because we were working on our place. We felt a slam against the camper. And the camper shook so hard it just about tipped over. And we heard grunting and growls outside. And Stacy says, I want to get up and check this out. What's going on? I said, no, you're going to lay back down. No one's going outside. No way.
Oh, heck no.
No way. So,
I would definitely grab something to protect my family and I. And yeah,
oh
I
yeah,
don't know.
it
I
was
mean, you got to
ready.
think there's probably a lot of them out there at that point.
Absolutely. So it sounded the next day when I went out, it looked like Hiroshima. I mean, there was trees knocked down and scuff marks all over the ground. My personal theory, because this was within a couple days of when Stacy had her sighting, my personal theory is that big guy that she saw grabbed got into a altercation with that thing we saw across the road and got it
Oh,
out of there for us because we never had another issue with them since.
wow.
With a couple years after the fact, we started getting activity with them involved again, but
Yeah.
it took a couple years for them to show their face again.
Oh
So
my
that's
gosh.
just a theory. There's no proof. That's just my personal
Yeah.
theory.
Wow. Well, I would like to think that the other beings that are there are protecting you and your family. I mean, I've looked into Dogman quite a bit, and I do remote viewing, and the ones that I've looked into, they're either vicious and ferocious and killers, or they're just docile and they're just there and they're not there to
Right.
bother anybody. So
Right.
I haven't really seen it in between yet, but it's either one way or the
Yeah.
other. So
One way.
yeah.
Right. Exactly. And like I said, yeah, we didn't have any problems after that. I'm not gonna lie to you. I do have spots now. I'm speaking for the spot where we live. I do have areas where with the group of Sasquatches I study at these other spots and these other areas, you can almost feel the tension in the air. Like they could get aggressive at any second. So that I've said to people over the years, I truly believe it depends on the group. It depends on the alpha male. I think the alpha male might dictate a lot with how the rest of the group acts. I think it has to do with the type. I think there's a lot of different factors involved on how these things behave. And I'm talking about the Sasquatch and the Dogman right now. I think there's a lot of different factors involved. Without in my mind, there's no doubt about that. No doubt.
Well, Jeremiah, your ancestors were part of the Mohawk tribe, Native American.
That's correct.
Okay.
Yes.
What does your ancestry say about the Sasquatch and the Dogman? Is there a relationship that they had with them on the land where you live now?
Yes, not on the land I live now, but those I've talked to, distant relatives and such, they say the same thing that I just said. It depends on the group of entities. When I say entities, I mean the Sasquatch. It depends on the group. Same with the Dogman. Depends on the group. Depends on different factors. I've heard stories from those who say they would actually trade with them, fish and meat and trade with them. But I've also heard stories where, mothers would keep their children out of the woods because they would be taken away. So
kidnapped, right?
Exactly. It goes it goes on both ends of the spectrum, So it's interesting. It really is,
It is.
There's a lot of factors involved.
Well, okay, so going back to the lights, okay.
Yes.
I have experienced so many different types of orbs. I was actually going to be on an orb panel for my friend Nicole Sackage's show today, and I couldn't make it this morning with Grant Cameron but they did a show today on orbs, okay, because I've seen so many different types of orbs. I've had orbs in my home. I've had orbs out in the field. I've seen videos of orbs that were metallic looking and then turned into aliens. Okay.
Okay.
There's so many different types of orbs. Have you guys had ET experiences on your property, and have you had ET experiences, period, just in any of your research?
Yes. Well, for one, I'll get back to the property in a second, but when we were in North Carolina, that video I sent you, I truly believe that was an extraterrestrial. That thing carrying the hog. I believe it was. And before that video was taken, I was finding very weird 3-pronged tracks that looked almost reptile-like, and I could not figure out what they were. And then lo and behold, 2 days later, I take that video, and it's very, very bizarre. There's not a day, I'm not gonna lie to you, Jess, there's not a day that goes by I don't watch that video to try to pick something else up from it. It's very, very bizarre, and in that it's clearly, to me, it's carrying that thing it's carrying is a wild hog. Those I've showed it to a lot of different people, and they've agreed. And to carry something dead weight that heavy, that thing had to have been strong, you know.
Oh yeah.
And you know, I don't, and yeah, it's kind of a very, to me, it's a disturbing. That was a disturbing experience, and that's another experience where before, if you watch that video again, but you'll see lights come down beforehand, and then you'll see them afterwards in that video.
That's the video you sent me, right? That's the one that I've, yes. Okay. Yep. I just want to make sure we're referring to the same video here. That's it's very compelling for sure. And yes. I mean, I know hogs are not are pretty heavy. I know trees and logs are heavy. I have a hard time picking up logs to put in my fireplace. Okay.
Yes.
You know, little ones that are cut. Yeah. You know, these things are massive, super strong. And I mean, do you think there could be a portal on your property out there?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think there could be
what could come and go through that.
Exactly. Yeah. And I've been trying to tell. Yes, you hit it right on the money. I definitely think there is, and my wife too. She says she doesn't think she knows. You know, she said that to me for years. You know, when we first reconnected, you know, we knew each other as children. She was my high school crush, you know, and she kind of blew me off back then. She was because she's a couple of years older than me, so I was the little brother friend that she wanted nothing to do with, you know. But she, like I said, she has her gifts, and she says, Jeremiah, there's portals on this property, and you know, there's, like you just said, there's no telling what could cross through them, you know.
There's no telling. It's endless. I mean, when you have a portal, and I mean, where are they coming from? You know, that's my question. Where are they coming from? Where are they going? Why are they here?
Yeah, right. I think some of these entities can open them at will, because you know, you'll find like that tracker I sent you today, for instance. Okay, there was one. All right, now something that large. Okay, now that shoe, and my buddy's shoe in that picture is he wears a size 12 or 13, so you're looking at about a 19-inch track. So there was one there. Okay, so why would there be just one? You know, I know the woods can do weird things, but for something that large to leave only one visible track, I'm a hunter, and when you get on a big buck track, you're gonna find more than one.
Yeah,
you know,
that's what we call the X factor, Jeremiah. It's the X factor. It's like one print, and boom, they're gone. Or you follow a track line, and then it just disappears into thin air.
Yeah.
I mean, and I've heard people try to explain that, like, well, they just walk backwards into their footprints. I'm like, well, why would they do that? That's weird. That's even more weird than going through a portal, in my opinion.
Yeah, without a doubt. Yeah,
that's just me. But I'm not saying that, you know, I'm not making fun of anyone or whatever, but I'm just saying rationally that doesn't make any sense either to me.
No.
You know.
No.
It's hard to do that. I can't walk backwards in a perfect, you know, footprint line, track line. So I don't know. I'm not a Bigfoot though.
Right. But yeah, right. Just one. I mean, it went somewhere. The thing went somewhere, you know. And granted, they can jump, they can really leap, but still, if you were to circle the area in say a 30-foot radius, if it had took a leap, you would chances are you would find another track somewhere, and there was just none. You know, in the area, you know, where that print was found.
Now, do you guys leave any kind of gifts or anything out there for these beings, or do you stay clear of that?
I stay clear of it.
Yeah, I don't blame you.
Especially food, because first of all, I think it's kind of unfair to them, because what happens if I start feeding these things and something, God forbid, something happens to my family and myself? You know, they have gotten used to that, and all of a sudden it goes. Then they get angry. I've been on cases. I was on a case. A guy I went to school with. I'd see him out. I'd go out for a drink, and I'd see him out, and he'd bust my chops. Hey, Fountain, you still chasing Harry and Harry? And he inherited a house from his grandmother. And well, one day I get a phone call, and he says, Jerimiah, you think you could take a ride out here? I need to talk to you. So I was like, sure. So I get there, and he's wondering why he has 7-foot hairy creatures running around his property, screaming in his windows, banging on the windows and such.
Oh. Come
to find out, well, we started digging a little bit, talked to his father, and his father had told us that the grandmother had been feeding a group of these things for 30 plus years. All of a sudden she passes away. He inherits the house, and these things got upset. So
they need some of that grandma's apple pie and stuff,
Yeah, exactly. They were missing that
all
apple
her cookies
pie
and muffins.
Absolutely. Now we've had
scraps.
Them leave us. Exactly.
Oh, that's
we've
terrible.
Had them leave us. It is. We've had them leave us things. But I stay clear of returning anything. I do, because that's for one reason. Just for some reason, something's telling me not to encourage it. Something's always told me deep inside my gut not to get involved with it.
Yeah. I think the consensus for most people is like not to leave stuff out for them, food, if they're living on your property, especially.
Yes, exactly.
Like my teams, when we're out doing research, we don't gift, like that's not something that I do personally. But also my team is we've been doing Bigfoot research for so long. There's so much other stuff out there now.
Yes.
We acknowledge that there are Bigfoots out there. Now we're on to like the portals and the ETs and the light beings and all this weird other stuff that we're seeing out there. So we know the Sasquatch are there, and we respect them. But we've got other stuff to look for at this point too. So
and that's kind of the point we've gotten to as well, where I've been Sasquatch researching for 20 years, and I know they're there. I know where they are. I know where to look for them. I know the signs, and I've kind of moved. We're getting into we're going further down the rabbit hole, so to speak.
Yeah, well, it's a natural progression, Jerimiah. It really is. It is. Once that's why Dogman, I feel, is so popular right now, is because we have been studying Bigfoot and hearing about Sasquatch for so long now, which is only, it's only been 55 years since the Patty film was filmed. That anniversary was this week. Here, I actually have a picture of that we can pull up.
Great.
The Patterson Gimlin film. Okay, let's see. Is that coming up? There it is. There
Patty. She is.
And so,
beautiful, isn't
she? Beautiful. Yeah. And it's been 55 years. Okay.
Oh, God almighty.
I know it's been around longer than I've been alive. Okay. But,
yeah.
But how far have we come though since then? We've come a pretty long ways. But
I think
still
so.
Like the pinnacle of the evidence right there. Wouldn't you
say? It is. Yeah. I in my opinion, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. That's what got me hooked in this, in the whole Sasquatch field. My mother bought me, remember a book called The Mysteries of the 20th Century by any chance?
I do. I vaguely remember. I don't think I read it, but I did hear you mention that.
Yeah, she bought it for me, and I saw a picture of the pretty woman Patty, and from that point on, I wanted to go find her, and that's what got me hooked. As a little 7-year-old, You know,
Well, now
so,
and now every car you pass on the road has a Bigfoot sticker on the back windshield.
right.
Just about, right?
Yeah.
It's really wild, but that's why I feel like the Dogman phenomenon is so prevalent right now, because everybody's like, well, we know Bigfoot exists now. Now there's Dogman and werewolves, you know.
Yes.
I mean, and,
Yes.
and you've had experiences with the Dogman.
Yep.
You know, somebody made a good point one day when I was talking to I was interviewing somebody. I can't remember who it was, but I was like, well, would you ever call in a dog man? And if you did, how would you do that? You know, I've never known anyone to actually want to summon a dog man to like show up. People usually just find them in passing, you know.
Yes.
It's not like you're out there, you know, baiting them or anything like that to come in. It usually, when people have an encounter with a dog man, it's because you just happen to see a dog man, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. Yep. There's no gifting dog man that I've heard of.
Not that I've heard of either.
Yeah. I don't know. I just think that's interesting.
It is interesting. You're absolutely right on that one. You know, when all the witness reports I've taken as far as Dogman goes, the people were not out looking for them. They like you said, just in passing. You know, unlike Sasquatch encounters where people are actually out looking for them and they have an encounter. You know, it's different for sure.
Yeah. Well, so you say that you take reports. So
yes.
So do you have a team that you go out with and investigate and research with, or you do it on your own?
No, I have a group of guys that research with me. A couple of them are police officers. I have another one that's a forensics officer for a certain agency. And he's a very good asset to have in the team. Extremely good, very, very intelligent. And another gentleman that I research with he lives on a piece of property as well, about 25 miles away. He's a retired law enforcement officer. He actually has a group of Sasquatch on his property as well. So when we connected, I've known him for years, but when we got into this, we started talking about it, our commonalities. You know, we started doing research together, and you know, there's some other people. There's about 7 or 8 of us on any given night that we're all together. There's about 7 or 8 of us that go out and research. Yeah.
Well, you know, on my teams, a lot of the guys and ladies too, they are military, retired military, law enforcement, paramedics, EMTs, you know, DOD, whatever. I mean, we've got a wide range. I mean, I used to work in government myself, a long time ago on a state level. But I mean, even with the Dogman, the North American Dogman Project, a lot of those guys are law enforcement and military guys, search and rescue people. I mean, I think that there's just some sort of a pull to the field, you know, from those different types of agencies, and maybe it's the mindset. What do you think is the connection?
Maybe, you know, this might sound stupid, but maybe it's because they know they shouldn't be doing it. they know they shouldn't be doing it. And
taboo, right?
Taboo. It's taboo. So let's get into it. You know, I think they're just like the rest of us, looking for answers. You know, just looking for answers. And as I said to you before, I think as researchers, I think, you know, if we do this, I think it's our responsibility to try to bring answers to people, you know, people that you know, and people that have these scary experiences, or you know, that are just dying for answers, but they just don't know how to go about and do it themselves. I think it's, you know, our duty, people like yourself and me, and you know, our teams and those others we work with, you know, that I think it's our responsibility to try to bring answers to this puzzle.
Yeah,
really
And those police officers are out there. They're the ones taking the calls to people's houses in the middle of the night.
Yes.
Who are having their houses smacked by a Bigfoot or whatever's hitting their houses, and or people who are terrified when they see something. I mean, my sister is a former dispatcher at the sheriff's department, and so they got a lot of calls back in the day about a werewolf in the north part of our county on the side of the road that would cross the road pretty often for many years. So, these cops that are out there doing all of the research, they're the ones taking these calls. They've got to believe it at some point. I mean, the calls are just, people are not lying that, they're not calling it that much and lying about it.
No, my dad was a, we're a logging family, but my dad was also a state trooper. He was a BCI narcotics investigator, and he remembers back in the day where they got a call where someone had shot one dead, a Sasquatch, and the DEC showed up with a biologist, and they took it away.
Oh, they did. Somebody came in and they extracted the body.
They extracted it. They took it right away, and the gentleman asked him, "What is this? What is this thing?" And the biologist, he assumes it was the biologist because he was dressed differently than the other two that were in uniform. He said it's something that's not supposed to exist, and they took it away. Wow. And my father, he remembers it like it was yesterday.
Did he tell you that when it happened, or was it when you asked him down the road sometime?
Yeah, this was back in the 70s that happened. My dad's been retired since 1980. But he remembers it like it was yesterday, and he told me about it. Once I got in this field heavy, he started talking a little bit more about this stuff to me.
I love that. Wow. Yeah. I mean, I'm sad for the Bigfoot. I'm sad for the Sasquatch. Right. But I love that there's history here with your family, and
absolutely.
And it's really even more sad because you have them on your property, and your family's probably been around them for generations.
Yes.
Yeah. Wow.
Yep.
Oh, well, speaking of your family and your property, Brown Dwarf, what's up, Brown Dwarf? He would like to know if you have any stick structures or anomalies on your property like that.
Absolutely. A lot of X's, a lot of trees ripped out by the roots, jammed back in upside down, the roots tied in knots, stuff like that. You tell me what kind of a human being is going to do that? Take a tree that's a foot in diameter, rip it out by the roots, jam it back in the ground, then tie the roots in knots. That's not going to happen. A human's not going to do that. A lot of X's, a lot of mounds. I worked a pretty cool case in southern New York where there was mounds being built. We'd go out and there would be these mounds, and these things were taking this lady's grandson's toys and sticking them in the middle of the mounds. And I'll send you some pictures of that tomorrow as well.
Really?
We'd go to bed, wake up in the morning, and they wouldn't be in the spot we left them the night before. They'd be in a different area. Trees, cracked up the middle and made into a T formation, a straight T, just very, very weird things. But as far as our property, I find a lot of X formations, a lot of arches, stuff like that. And granted, up here we get a ton of snow. It gets 40 below, and then we very brutal winters up here. But snow can cause that. But if the tree's big enough, you can tell when weather has done it or when something else has done it. When something's arched and then put into place with another tree on the ground, that's a different story. You can tell. After doing this so long, you can tell when something's natural and when something's not.
You have to go with your gut, and that's where your empathic abilities really kick in too, is going with your gut to decide if that's like natural or if it's Sasquatch created or whatever. Your gut will tell you. You just have to listen to it.
Yes, and being the empathic way, I mean, it does take a lot of energy out of me. When we go out on an outing or whatever, I'm a big believer in the infrasound theory. And one night I believe I was hit with infrasound. I had our thermal out, and I was scanning this field, and I sense something behind me. And as I whip around, I see a brown flash fly by me, not fly by me, but run by me, and all of a sudden my equilibrium got thrown off really, really big time. I got extremely nauseous. All of a sudden I started throwing up very heavily. It felt like something had zapped me. That's the only description I can have for it. And then, they're very, and that brings me to another story. We had one cross in between two of us one night. One of my partners and I, we were about 100 feet apart, and we had one walk in between us, leave a track, without us even seeing it.
So cloaking, yeah. Do you think it was cloaked?
I think so. Either that, or it was just so stealthy. But I think it had a way of camouflaging itself, like you said, cloaked itself or whatnot.
Yeah,
it got in between us somehow.
That's interesting. You know what? My first encounter, my first possible encounter with a Sasquatch, I believe something ran up behind me and smacked the back of my legs and kind of knocked the legs out from underneath me. But there was nothing there, and I could hear it run up behind me, and then I could feel it run past me, but there was nothing there.
Nothing there.
I have to say, I think it was a Sasquatch, but I can't say for sure.
Right. You have the feeling that it was, you just can't prove it.
I do. I mean, I could remote view it and all that kind of stuff, but I mean,
sure.
The guys were actually watching me. I was being Sasquatch bait. Okay, I was being bait.
Right.
And walking by myself up a field, and they were watching me through their FLIRs and their thermal imaging cameras, and they didn't see anything.
Nothing, huh?
But wow. I experienced it. You can't say nobody can tell me I didn't experience that,
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And that's the thing. No one can tell you what you've seen and what you haven't seen. Once you experience something like that, Jess, you can't unexperience it.
Right.
I mean, you know that as well as I do. You can't unexperience something like that.
And that's why we take into account everyone's experiences, and it is what it is. And, and I know I was kind of joking around about people saying that Sasquatch walk backwards in the footprints. Well, that's someone else's experience. So I'm not making fun of that. It is an explanation. It could be, but I just don't think it is personally, but I don't know. I don't think any of us really truly know.
No, we don't. We don't know. That's people talk about so-called experts in this field. Well, I got news. There's no experts in this field.
Right.
Somebody,
I've been asked to be an expert on a Facebook group, and I'm like, I'm not an expert. So I can't accept it because I'm not an expert. Okay. So I'm sorry. Right. I'm sorry, y'all. I can't.
Yeah, I got you. Yeah.
Because I'm just not an expert, but it's okay. But you know what? An expert, basically, the definition of an expert is just somebody who knows a little bit more than other people, I guess.
Yes.
So, I mean, in a way, I guess you could say you are, but we don't like that label. None of us do.
Exactly.
Yeah. But we've all had experiences, that's for sure. And Jerimiah, you have a lot of experiences because you not only have you've traveled the world, with your MMA career, and you've learned about cryptids from all over the world. Is there any other cryptid that you just think is really cool, other than Bigfoot from across the world? Yeah,
I'm upset. I've been obsessed with orang pendek for years.
Oh yeah,
that's Indonesia. Cool. Yeah, orang pendek and orang gadang. A lot of people, that's the other cryptid from Indonesia that a lot of people, we don't really talk about a lot about. But it's supposed to be a lot bigger, reaching heights of 11 feet, and the tracks are a lot different. I've studied it quite a bit, and the tracks from orang pendek and orang gadang are a lot different than Sasquatch tracks. They're more ape-like.
Wow.
They're very, 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 very ape-like. Another one is, I spent a lot of time in Brazil, and there's one they refer to as the Juma, and that term translates into roaring beast. And they're supposed to be scary. And you do hear in Brazil, you hear a lot of scary stories about them. They're supposed to be extremely aggressive.
They live in the jungle?
Yes, the Amazon area of Brazil. They're said to use tools, bows, spears, but they are
wow.
like
That
yeah,
adds a
which is
whole more
fascinating.
dangerous element to it right there. They're using
Exactly.
weapons. Watch out now.
Exactly. That's all we need is Sasquatch is running around with weapons,
Oh my gosh, I know. Well, especially if they're using telepathy and cloaking. I mean, that could be a perfect super soldier. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
it's wild. It's wild. Deb from SAC, I guess. Thank you. Okay, for that super sticker. We really appreciate you, and I appreciate you. Thank you. Yeah, that is. That's actually, those are some good ones, Jeremiah. Something that's it's not a Sasquatch, not a Dogman, from another country, and I think it's awesome. What you're doing, and that you've got all these different shows, and you've got your Facebook groups. Tell me a little bit about your YouTube channel and your show that you do.
Sure. We've got like we were saying earlier, we have one called On the Trail in Search of Living Legends. That is with Nick and myself and my our other partner Sean Wilson. He's been absent this year, but he's usually on with us. And that's the show where Nick. Yep, there
Nick
it is.
Valente,
right there.
That's right, with the North American Dogman Project.
Yep, very great guy, very knowledgeable. Nick and I. That's the show where we do our interviews. We interview witnesses to phenomena. We don't specialize in any certain type of cryptid or spirit or anything. It's people with any type of paranormal experience. We will give it a shot to and interview them, let them tell their story, try to give them answers, try to help them out. Because like I said, that's what it's all about. I truly believe. And we have our other show. It's me and myself and about eight other researchers. A lot of them, it's called the Skookum Session Bigfoot podcast. It's basically, now that show is strictly about Bigfoot. We sit around and we talk, and sometimes we debate amongst ourselves. We agree. Healthy debate. We agree to disagree. We'll pick a topic in the Bigfoot field, and we talk about it, and we'll take. We pre-record all our stuff, so I'll put, people ask questions that they want covered on the next show, and we'll do our best to get to them and whatnot.
I love that.
Yeah,
that's awesome. And now you also have a Facebook group, and the people can join, right?
Yes, absolutely. It's on the trail Cryptid Paranormal Research Group. And that too is we cover everything, not just Sasquatch. It's Sasquatch, Dogman, Mothman, whatever, anything, all the cryptid, spiritual stuff, all of it.
I love that. And
we don't discriminate.
That's perfect. And your YouTube channel too. Everybody, please go subscribe to his YouTube channel. It's really awesome. Your shows are on there, right? Paranormal and Cryptid Crossroads Research. Yes. Jeremiah, this has been so much fun. Oh my gosh.
I know.
I had a whole bunch of stuff that I had kind of listed out that we could talk about tonight. We barely touched on any of it, but we talked about so much awesome stuff tonight. So please come back and be my guest.
Anytime. It was an honor. Anytime you want me back on, you just let me know and I will make the time.
Oh my gosh. Well, we're going to plan on it. Okay. This has been a blessing. Thank you so much for being here. And keep us updated on the Sasquatch on your property too. I'd love to hear about that. Okay.
Will do, Jess.
All right, Jeremiah. Have a wonderful weekend, and we'll see you again soon. Okay.
You too. Okay.
All right. Thank you. All right, y'all. That was amazing. All right. Let's see. Oh, got to pull that up. Don't forget, right after this show, you can join After Hours crew. They're going to take you on a mysterious journey for the next 3 hours. Tomorrow night, I have D.A. Roberts coming on. We're going to be talking about some creepy cryptids just in time for Halloween, including the Wendigo and the Dogman. You guys you name it. I can't wait to see y'all there. But for now, I'm the Cryptid Huntress. I'm headed off the trails. I'll see you guys tomorrow night. After Hours is next. You guys have a wonderful night, and I will see y'all tomorrow. Bye.